You may have seen acro videos on Instagram and you might be curious about checking it out. However, you may be hesitant about actually giving it a try because you don't know what to expect from it. After all, it kind of feels a little bit like magic, what people do on top of each other. And magic is kind of like Harry Potter and a lot of us might not think we're ready for Harry Potter's magic school because we might be muggles after all, right? So I want to talk a little bit today about what to expect from an acroyoga class. In the beginning of a session, we have an opening circle, and each person gets to go and they get to say their name, their acroyoga background, and a little personality question like, what's your favorite ice cream? Where would you love to go for vacation? It's just so your presence is a little bit in the room and you get to know everyone else because acroyoga is very interactive and you get to, work with other people. And then based on people's backgrounds, I propose a plan for that particular session. And there's a lot of creativity in how you can make more advanced with more beginning people work together. People inside of a group might not each have their own goals. Like maybe as an advanced person you don't have to learn the very beginner thing, but maybe there's something you can work on within this constellation. Hey, 1, we have the welcome circle. 2, we have warm-ups. Personally, I don't like the generic warm-ups. I think if I wanted a general fitness warm-up, I'd go to my gym because those gym trainers know how to do really good warm-ups, and if I go to other specialty training classes, those teachers usually don't really know how to do a really good warm-up. They just give you kind of like a math thing. And so what I like to do is either I do an acro-specific warm-up or I do a movement exploration. The acro-specific warm-up are usually exercises where you don't go into full acro-yoga poses. It might be a thing like a partner squat, like you'll hold onto your partner and you squat down together. And essentially you're doing a squat, so it's a warm-up. At the same time, because you have to lean back, you have a counterbalance going on. You have to just figure out how much weight to give your partner, how much to take. So you're developing counterbalancing skills, which are useful for acroyoga. The movement exploration is something that I just started once to try out, and then I found out students who do that as a warm-up, they tend to progress significantly faster later in class. So our movement exploration is maybe we go into a position on our hands and knees and we start to play around with shoulder rotation. We don't do typical gym repetition where it's 1, 2, 3, but we explore how can you move your shoulder? What if you move your other shoulder in a different way? What if you let your elbow go? How far can you go? How slow can you go? Now that you move both shoulders, you notice a little wave in your back going side to side. Maybe you can create some waves. For some reason, once people get into these movements and become familiar with the way their body can move, it seems to create a different mindset, where later when they do acroyoga on top of other people, they're just more ready to try stuff and succeed. So we had warm-up circle, welcome circle, warm-ups, and the next thing is, before I actually do the real acroyoga stuff, there's a safety briefing. And the safety briefing has 3 main points. I'll briefly bring them up so you have an idea of what it is. Down is a magic word. Down means we stop what we do and we come back to the ground right away, no debate, and anyone can call for it. It's really important to be able to stop things quickly. 2, in class, we always use at least 1 or 2 spotters. Kind of falling out of poses is like a given. In the beginning, you might be more, cautious about falling out of things because it's new. And so we want to have spotters to kind of like guide people down safely. And it takes some time to also specifically learn skills on how to fall out. So spotting is really emphasized in class, and we talk about how to do it well. The third thing is accurate self-assessment. Essentially, you're responsible for your own safety. I don't know what your movement background is. Maybe you've spent 20 years sitting behind a computer screen. Maybe you're a competitive rodeo star who's used to breaking his or her leg twice a year, and that's normal for you, and you know how to fall. It's I pick these 2 extremes. It's kind of like you have to decide it, and then if you decide something is not for you, I can usually help how to change the particular skill to accommodate the person, some alternative, or like a means of building up the skill towards it. And then after we get all of these things done, we start the actual acroyoga. In some classes, we might spend, if it's an hour class, we might spend half of the class before we do the acroyoga. In other classes, like in a 3-hour class, maybe based on who's there, maybe you only spend 15 minutes on it. Then the actual acroyoga, this is where you might, like, oh my god, this is where it's happening. I have a curriculum with 15 levels where we gradually build up skills, so you're not really thrown into the deep end. So sometimes it can feel like you're thrown into the deep end, but only feel like it because the average person is actually capable of a lot more than they think they can. And so there are specific things where your body's ready to do it, but what you actually learn with it is how to expand your mind, that the skill is actually a possibility for you. And so let's say like what happens. Usually I do a demo, like we demonstrate a skill we want to learn, and there's a discussion about challenges with it, like tricks, maybe some progressions and how to, you don't go straight away for it, but maybe you do some preparatory things to warm up to it, how to do the spotting. And then after the demo, you're put in a group of 3 to 4 people. There's usually a person on the ground called the base, a person that's going to be up in the air called the flyer, and 1 or even 2 people who are there for safety. There's the spotters. And then you don't expect that whatever you're shown you can do it on the first try. The whole thing is more like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle of like limbs, coordination with someone else, and physics. And for a lot of people, this human body puzzle solving is a big part of why they like acroyoga. It's like, you see something, you get some ideas of like how you could make it happen. It maybe doesn't work, and then you figure out like, hey, here's this other sub problem. Like maybe if I used my arm like this, it's fun and it's rewarding. So don't expect that you get it on the first time. Expect that there's some figuring out, and people are going to help you. They're going to give you multiple tries, and some of the harder skills I consider some projects because maybe I'm working on them for like a few weeks. Like, I give it a try, and then in between I think about how I could try it next time. I try it again, and It's just part of it. It's I have this image from when I took trapeze class. It's like you're on top of the trapeze and you're supposed to do something perfectly, and the entire class is standing there watching you, and you're like, oh my god, I better not fail. Acroyoga is kind of, like you're all in your own little groups, like everyone's gonna struggle with it. I try to make the classes more like low pressure. You have to remind yourself, acroyoga is more play-centric than performance-centric. If you're a runner, you might go after a marathon time. If you're a jiu-jitsu person, you might go after winning competitions. But acroyoga is like purposefully purposeless. Like there isn't really, there isn't anything you really have to accomplish or achieve out of it. It's more like, hey, this looks like fun, let's try it and see how crazy it turns out to be. So you gotta think it's play. And yeah, that's it. I do acroyoga learning labs in Midtown Manhattan, usually on Saturdays from 3 to 6 p.m. So it's a 3-hour block. It can be really fun. I want to caution, like, if you're completely out of shape, have never done acroyoga, you might not have the stamina to make it through 3 hours. But I've seen other people who are just generally athletic come in and had a lot of fun in 3 hours. If you've been doing a little acroyoga and you're in good shape, the 3 hours can really give you time to go into more depth with things. And students say it goes by pretty quickly. On Sunday from 5 to 6, there's a 1-hour class. Like, that can be like a great way to just sample things, get a first taste, or if you just want to get some quick acro fix on a Sunday. Students sometimes say it's over really quickly. It's like they feel like they barely started. But you have like these two options. Check it out. It's Acroyoga Learning Lab, New York City.